Yeah, keep it up.
Trump and sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, would testify. Winter arriving, shall we say, a tad bit early this year, at least in parts of the United States. The Midwest getting hit today. National Weather Service meteorologist Ashton Robinson Crooks says first snow hitting Nebraska.
There's a really cold air mass that settled into a lot of the northern Great Plains and even some of the central Great Plains. There's areas of snow now occurring over Nebraska, light to moderate. Mostly. There's also a few areas of showers with light icing going on in Kansas.
So weird.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dr. Gorka here, and I want to talk to you for a minute about 100% drug-free Relief Factor. I've been taking Relief Factor for years now to help me deal with pain in my body. My wife takes it as well. The reason we tell everyone about it is simple. We found it really works to help our bodies fight off the inflammation that causes aches and pains. Whether it's the pain of injuries you've sustained or just the natural pain from the mileage over the years, Relief Factor can help. I've never looked back. Almost 70% of the more than 500,000 people who have tried Relief Factor end up ordering more. That's because it works for them the way it works for me. Isn't it time for you to get out of pain? Your first step to becoming pain-free should be to order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of only $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out more about this.
Approaching a railroad crossing.
relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Feel the difference.
Best Buy recalling 1 million pressure cookers.
The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the recalled pressure cookers are sold under the brand name Insignia. The problem is they have incorrect volume markers on their inner pots, which can cause consumers to overfill them. As a result, hot food and liquids can spew from the device when it's vented or opened. Best Buy has already received at least 17 reports of burn injuries, some of which were second degree. Consumers can contact Best Buy for a free replacement of the inner pot and floating locking valve. I'm Shelley Adler.
Poultry producers asking a judge to dismiss his ruling they polluted an Oklahoma watershed. Arkansas-based Tyson and Minnesota-based Cargill and others say the case is constitutionally moot because the evidence is more than 13 years old. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com. A judge in London overturning an arbitration award that would have required Nigeria to pay $11 billion over a failed gas project, finding the contract was obtained through fraud. The High Court ruling reverses the award to the British Virgin Islands-based Process and Industrial Developments Limited over the 2010 gas deal. The payment would have dealt a massive blow to Nigeria's ailing economy. The contract signed with Nigeria's government in 2010 was for the company to build a giant processing plant in the southeastern port city of Calabar. The project quickly collapsed. That is correspondent Jeremy House reporting. For the second year in a row, American shoppers seeing double-digit inflation in candy. That's right, candy and gum prices up an average of 13% this month. More on these stories at townhall.com.
That's so bad.
24/7 KTRP, San Francisco, 860 AM, The Answer.
With Israel at war, with the horrors of the October 7th, the UN Secretary General places blame on Israel.
The attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum.
Israel's representative was steamed.
The Secretary General must resign.
Michael Oren looks at what's behind it all.
It's an old anti-Semitic trope that the Jews have it coming to.
We'll look squarely at what we're seeing today. And see it clearly for what it is.
Well, basically what you're seeing is this is Hitler Youth on display.
We'll hear from a Harvard grad student, a religious Jew, who has had enough.
You just cannot stay silent anymore.
All this and more. I'm Seth Leibson, coming to you from Phoenix and AM 960 The Patriot, where I host a program in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. Learn more and listen to my program at 960thepatriot.com. And take a moment to follow me on Twitter at Seth Leibson. Seth, Leibson. And follow this program as well at Town Hall Review. Israel continued its aerial bombardment of the Gaza Strip this week, hitting key Hamas targets as we watched, somewhat impatiently, for a ground invasion. Those of us who have watched Israel's fights over the last few decades have grown accustomed to a very predictable pattern of things with Israel. They get attacked. And then, like any nation would do that wants to survive, they fight to defend their people and to defeat those who have attacked them. And then, they get blamed. Here was UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres earlier this week.
I have condemned unequivocally the horrifying and unprecedented 7 October acts of terror by Hamas in Israel. Nothing can justify the deliberate killing, injuring, and kidnapping of civilians or the launching of rockets against civilian targets. All hostages must be treated humanely and released immediately and without conditions. It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum.
But given the barbarism we witnessed, there were hopes. Hopes we'd see something different this time. Gilad Erdan, Israel's representative at the UN, responded.
You are tolerating terrorism, and by tolerating terrorism, you are justifying terrorism. And the SG is blaming the victim? You are blaming Israel? This is a pure blood libel. This is a pure blood libel, and I think that the Secretary General must resign.
With public pressure and public scrutiny now on Israel, Hugh Hewitt turned to Michael Oren, Israel's former ambassador to the United States.
I want to begin with a Ben Rhodes quote. You may have seen it. Ben Rhodes writing yesterday, Israel has legitimate security concerns and has a right to go after the wing of Hamas, a faction the worst version of itself. What do you think of that, Dr. Oren?
Okay, that's Carter.
The worst version. You know, what can I say? The Nazis were the worst version of themselves. I don't know what to make of that. It's like nonsense. And there's a military wing and a civilian wing of Hamas. Was there a civilian wing of the Nazi Party and a military wing of the Nazi Party? Let me get this straight. Let's not even go there. Can I?
Yes, please.
Do you know what a morning is like here? Okay, it's 1:30 in the afternoon here. This morning I've had 3 calls from families, either of people who have been captured or have been killed. The superintendent at my building called me to say that his best friend's son was taken out of a car by Hamas. They captured him, and then they took him out and executed him, and they have photographs of it. These guys took photographs of everything. Then a woman called me, who you may have seen the pictures of this young woman who was repeatedly raped and dragged through the streets of Gaza and spit on and beaten, all bloody, naked. Yeah, that young woman is the daughter of my daughter-in-law's doctor.
Oh my gosh.
I spoke to the family members of a young woman, 18-year-old woman, who was shot to death. Her father was captured. The terrorists filmed it all and put it up on the family Facebook so they could all see it. Okay? I just spoke to a former student of mine, a Yale student who's now writing for the press here, and she was invited to see the 45-minute video that the government is showing to select journalists, footage taken from the head camp of the terrorists. And I don't know what to think.
Yeah, Michael, I think we're in a 1936 to sort of 1938 unreality in the United States. They don't want to deal with it. I don't know if you ever read Eric Larson's book, In the Garden of the Beast, but the Americans would go over to Berlin and they would point glasses with Goering and Goebbels, and they never saw what was right in front of them. And there's a lot of Americans who do not see what's going on in this country, much less in Israel, with the rise of anti-Semitic marches and acts and violence. I don't even know how you...
The act about the deep is like this. It's like the tip of the iceberg. Because why? What's deep here? The deep is when that hospital got bombed, okay? A triple lie went out. 1, that Israel did it. 2, that it was a hospital. 1, and it was a triple lie. And 3, that 500 Palestinians were killed, and it's not true. We're saying maybe 100 most, okay? Not that, you know, but we released it from 100 down to 500 was a lie. And it was a triple lie, and everybody bought into it immediately. And what was the source? Hamas. And Israel adduced all this evidence, hardcore evidence. The Pentagon adduced all this evidence, and Israel was still guilty. I mean, what is that? It's not medieval anti-Semitism. What is that?
It is medieval anti-Semitism, and it's also an unwillingness to look at exactly what is in front of you. So what is driving this? What do you think is driving this narrative in the United States that Israel has to restrain itself and Israel has to abide by the laws of war, which it has always and everywhere respected?
Well, I think you can probably go deeper. Hamas drives us left. Okay? Because, we're not supposed to have heroes that behead babies and rape women and burn people alive. It's hard to make these people heroes. So it's a real challenge, and people were really eager when the reports came out about the Israeli bomb in the hospital, saying to themselves, well, hey, we can get out from under this moral problem of having been championed by these beasts, by these monsters. And so, they're always going to find a way to say, well, Israel basically had it coming. Okay? Behind that, deeply behind that, is anti-Semitism. Why? Because it's an old anti-Semitic trope that the Jews have it coming to us, it's original sin. In the medieval ages, an innocent Jew was an oxymoron. All Jews were a priori guilty. And it's true here too. And even those people belonging to Gaza border, most of whom belong to people who seem very left-wing and very committed to peace, they're guilty too. And so, if the Jews are guilty, then Hamas is not that guilty now, is it? Hamas has some kind of justification. It's very deep and very disturbing and extremely dark.
And Dr. Oren, let's close with this. There are at least a dozen countries with their citizens being held captive by Hamas. They're being held captive because they're Jewish. And I do not see the outrage in the world about this or the clarity. Is there anyone in the West who's standing tall and saying out loud, it's Iran and it's about destroying Israel? Because that's what it is.
Well, I think that the British have been good, the Italians have been good, the Maloney government has been good. The president made some extraordinary statements. They've moved major military assets into this region, huge military assets in this region. The question is, if they pulled out, again, let me just dig it, just pulling out a big gun. If they pulled out a big gun, if you don't pull the trigger, if you're not willing to pull the trigger, people don't believe you're willing to pull the trigger, then it actually has the worst effect of having not pulled out the gun at all.
While Israel labored the exact timing of their ground invasion, this criticism of Israel, loud on the campuses, loud in major cities in Europe, but even loud in high schools and middle schools right here in our country. I turned to a regular on my program, Brandon Whiteley, author of The Shadow Iran's Quest for Supremacy. Kind of a difficult conversation, Brandon. I want to talk about the youth. I want to talk about the professoriate that thinks it's okay to yell from the river to the sea.
Yeah, so, and this is nothing new. I mean, my college had Norman Finkelstein as a professor, so that should tell you how far to fall my undergrad, my alma mater was. Basically, the college campuses, with the exception of very few, have become completely annexed and co-opted by the radical left, and this is now generation 3 or 4 of that movement to completely radicalize our youth and to turn our children against us. And we're now seeing it. If you send your children to college, particularly if you send them to liberal arts backgrounds, they're going to come out, 99.9% chance they're going to come out as flaming leftists who basically are demon-possessed, for lack of a better way of putting it. They will be weaponized and propagandized all 4 years. It's nothing good. I mean, we really need to forgive all student loans, and then that would crash the market for higher education, which is why I support complete student loan forgiveness, because it would completely destroy the market for colleges, and then we can hit the reset button and start from the ground up again, because that's the only way this thing is going to change. Because right now, the market is structured in such a way where these psychotics are being rewarded, and we're sending our kids basically to the slaughterhouse, every year.
I agree with you on the psychosis at our colleges. I think a lot of people were shocked to see, particularly in Northern California, elementary school students marching down the hallways of their high schools yelling from the river to the sea. I think the rock goes much deeper than we think. They may not know what they're talking about. Let me put a fine point on it. From the river to the sea means zero Israel. It's not even the 1947 partition plan.
Right. Well, basically what you're seeing is this is Hitler Youth on display.
Okay.
I mean, this is the sort of thing that the Hitler Jugend used to chant. Obviously not about Israel, because Israel wasn't really around back then, but about removing the Jewish element from the Reich. I mean, this is no different. And, there's always been a deep-seated anti-Semitism embedded within not just Islamism, which itself is a derivation of, Marxist-Leninism, but it's been deeply rooted inside and within any kind of Marxist thought. They do not like Jews. The Soviet Union brutalized its Jewish population as badly as the Nazis did. Maybe it wasn't as well organized as the Nazi extermination was, but Jews in the Soviet Union were not treated all that great. The land of the pogrom. And so, what you're seeing on display in campuses is the continuation of ideology that we inherited at the turn of the 20th century, and it has been allowed to fester and rot the minds of 3 or 4 generations now of American youth. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Coming up, a religious Jew who is a Harvard grad student.
You just cannot stay silent anymore. You just can't. It's irresponsible not to state firstly what's going on in the world, going on the university campuses. It's just appalling.
In the next episode of Town Hall Review. Stay with us.
In September 1976, Ronald Reagan prepared a radio address titled Shaping the World for 100 Years to Come, telling the story of writing a letter for a time capsule to be opened in 2076. I'm Pete Peterson, Dean of Pepperdine's Graduate School of Public Policy. And in many ways,
approaching a railroad crossing.
Faculty, we're helping to shape the next 100 years in our communities, states, and nations. Our unique liberal arts master's program at one of America's leading Christian universities continues to prepare students for political and policy careers in our city and Capitol Hill. As we celebrate our 25th anniversary year, please watch our new promotional video based on Reagan's address on our Pepperdine SPT YouTube channel. And if you know someone thinking about graduate school this fall, we welcome applications at publicpolicy.pepperdine.com.
father amidst the attack.
Hello? Feuerwehr! Aber eine ganze Sendung ist so kompliziert.
I'm talking to you from FLC. Open my WhatsApp to see all those kills. Look how many I killed with my own hands. Your son killed Jews. Father was gone. A lot of them Akbar. And the son. Dad, I'm talking to you from a Jewish woman's home. I killed 10 with my own hands. And it goes. I could give example after example. The point is this. Motivating the black terror is not a word. Not a disagreement over how many thousands were allowed to Israel in the work permit. This is pure, raw, Jewish hatred. This is anti-Semitism. Murder anti-Semitism. J.J. Cushing is a doctoral student of Jewish history at Harvard. He was a guest of Dennis Prager.
I'd like to tell you two interesting things about this piece. Let me read to you the last paragraph and tell you I always look at comments, and in this case, in the Wall Street Journal, on the internet, there are 2,672 comments. That is an astonishingly high number. He's obviously been in Europe with this piece. As a grandson of an Auschwitz survivor and a student of German Jewish history, I was always incredulous that highly cultured Germans, the people of Goethe and Beethoven, could have displayed sympathy and even enthusiasm for the Nazi slaughter of the Jews. Now I believe it. I have seen it happen here. That's right. He has sympathy and enthusiasm for the slaughter of Jews. Every pro-Palestinian demonstration is about that. You can live in denial. That's a comfortable place. So actually my question to you is not primarily about the administration. It was about fellow students in your case or faculty. Did you get any feedback?
In terms of fellow students, I received dozens upon dozens of emails from Jewish students saying, thank you for saying the things that I can't say, that I would face serious repercussions if I said in public. Thank you for saying what you need to say. In terms of faculty, there have been 2 faculty members who have reached out with praise, with glowing remarks, and that's it. I haven't had any other...
Are you free to mention their names?
I'd rather not, because
Okay, so
I imagine they would rather not.
All right, well, that gives one an idea of the state of our universities and the state of Harvard specifically. In this instance, I don't think Harvard's worse than Yale. I think it's impossible to descend to the depths of Yale, but Harvard is trying. But that in and of itself is fascinating. That you're right. This is not a critique of you, it's a critique of the world in which we live. The fact that this exists, a quick anecdote for you. For most of the Trump era, people would come over to me and look around before they would talk, and then say, I just want you to know I agree with you. And I thought, you know, the last time people looked around before they talked to me was when I would visit the Soviet Union. I speak Russian, so people knew I was American, and they would look around. Is anybody watching me talk? This is America in the middle of the 21st century, and you have it at Harvard. So the Jewish students who reached out to you, they said the same thing. There will be repercussions if they say what you say. But if there were no repercussions to you, why did they fear repercussions?
So I'll say a couple of things. Firstly, it's different to undergraduate students because they depend very much on their peers for their social life, for the clubs, being really interested in really. I've had an issue down the hall, these sorts of fellow students, and therefore the influence of their fellow students is important to their whole college experience. And I would say the basic thing. For me, firstly, I'm a doctoral student. Secondly, I'm already married, and I don't depend on the campus for my social life. I don't depend on the approval of my colleagues to write my dissertation. I just need to write my dissertation. And also, I tell you something. All these atrocities that occurred 2 years ago, I was not by nature a very combative or outspoken sort of person. I didn't dive into political issues. That's not really what I've been about. I've been at Harvard. I've been a student. I've been trying to make my way academically, and almost all my activity has been academic. These past couple weeks, I think this is a moment of such gravity and such importance that you just cannot stay silent.